We're live, I believe. Welcome to Phil Goes Deep. Back. We're back again. So I'm testing a new bit of software, new to me. I have used it before. I want to shout out to Earl and all the dev advocates for the ServiceNow channel because that's where I first learned about Streamyard. Just going to have a little play around. I have no idea how this works, so I'm just learning live right now. I was looking around for some documentation for apologies for the lighting as well. What can we do for lights? Got a cup of tea. I've absolutely no idea how this actually works. So it says we're live on YouTube. Perfect. So excuse me while I figure out exactly how this is working. Test from Streamyard. The lighting is really poor in this room at the moment. So that's one thing. Noted down. Things I can improve. I hope the audio levels are okay. Don't have anyone locked into the stream just yet. Excellent connection. Perfect. Just going to play around with some of these settings as well. I think if I present, I can share slides. This is classic tab. So I'm just going to share the tab. Perfect. There we go. Just going to look at my banners as well. I think I could throw some banners up here. There we go. I was messing around on this. Let me just go mute for a moment. Okay, so back on. Still playing around with all of the settings. I quite like this. Brand color. What is the brand color for me? Let's go with a bit of black and white, to be honest. Minimal. Bit of minimal. Oh, we've got somebody tuned in. So thanks for joining. Welcome to the live stream. I'm just testing out Streamyard. I'm just figuring out how this works. Thanks to the dev advocate team from ServiceNow for making me aware of this. Apologies for the lighting. Really, when I was doing the streams before, I was using OBS software and having to set everything up. Here, I'm just going straight in on Streamyard, obviously using the free version right now. I want to know if it's much good, and just playing around really with some of these options. So thanks for joining. We'll have a look at Discode in a moment. Just playing around with, okay, so we can play countdown. That's quite cool, isn't it? Okay, so I can upload a video in that way. Not sure what else is possible. Thanks for joining. If you've just tuned in, I'm just testing out some software. So just playing around with StreamYard, as you can see in the top corner. Background music. Oh, a bit of lo-fi. Actually, don't mind listening to a bit of lo-fi while coding, but really would prefer a little bit of house music. The problem with YouTube and music is copyright, so I'm not sure how to get past that. Just checking out the options available, and then I'll probably get into. We can see here I'm sharing the. Welcome to Phil Goes Deep. I'm sharing the screen. I'm messing around with banners. You can see here live stream code discovery session. So once again, apologies for the lighting. This is not an intentional solution right now. Not what I'm aiming for. I'm actually buried in the corner of this room without any front-facing lights. All the lights coming from that angle. I'm using the virtual background blur available from StreamYard. I'm sipping a cup of tea. If you are locked in live, just drop a note in the comments. Let me know. We can bring it up on the screen like this. So any feedback, any thoughts, any comments, much appreciated. So let's have a look at what are we. I'm not showing the screen. What are we thinking to the fact that a solo layout, and then I want this one. I think no, this one down here, down there, to the side. Where? What are we thinking to these slash commands on Washington? Does anybody know how to disable them? Because I don't want these ones, to be quite honest with you. And I always use command and slash for SNU tools because you can't rely on the single slash. So I'm going back to single slash, but there are certain times when, you know, maybe your cursor is in here and a single slash won't work. Oh, okay. Maybe things have changed. You see there, single slash. So if I've got my cursor active here, I would do command slash. So I've been in the habit of doing command slash from, you know, the last couple of years. Hey, it's Dan. Tuned in. How we doing? How we doing? Arnold has started recommending alt slash. Right. Okay. Okay. What's that on a Mac though? Because alt slash isn't working. Alt slash is not working for me. let's have a look here. So I'm still learning how to operate all the controls here, Dan. So thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'm just messing around with this stuff. So if you've watched the live coding happy hour, you see messing around with all of these sort of settings. Now I'm on the other side of it. I'm still figuring out how it all works. Yeah, do you know with Washington? So Dan's saying the Washington DC release has added keyboard shortcuts, but I want to disable them. I don't want them. I'm not going to use them ones. I mean, impersonate user, command, shift, and I. No, I want my own custom / commands. Have you messed around with custom / commands at all, Dan? I'll tell you what's really nice on this is if you go to a list, for example, this is my PDI. It's a fresh one, so I haven't actually got anything. I haven't got GRC installed. Let me just go to incident, for example. If I go to all instance and then build up a list, for example, filter by David Miller. That filter has obviously, that breadcrumb filter has been built. So if you then go to custom / commands here, you can see how it's pre-filled. It's taken the list. It's taken the filter. I'm not sharing. Classic. Oh, classic. On the right. This is I'm getting used to these things. Right, hold on. Let's have a go. Let's see if we can spin this up. Here we go. No, wrong one. Whoa. Here we go. I think this is the one. That's a classic. How many Teams calls have you been on when somebody's talking? As soon as they say this, I think when they say this, you realise they're not sharing. Okay, so let me backtrack. I went to the incident list. I built a filter. You can see here the breadcrumb has been built with that filtered list from the condition builder. I did it here by right-clicking on David and show matching. Once I've got that list filtered, if I go to the SNU Tools browser extension from the address bar, yeah, rusty, very rusty, indeed. I think the last time I did a live stream was Hacktoberfest 22. I did a little test stream, but I think Streamyard could bring things back. You can throw JavaScript in them as well. Okay, I'm not sure about this. So yeah, basically you got the custom / command and you can pre-fill it, and then you can replace it with, so let's say here caller ID.name equals the parameter, right? So in parameter order. So that's the entire search string for individual words. Is it dollar? Is it with the? Sorry, there's no. It's $0. Sorry. Right, and then what command would I want to do that? I'll just do PGD for fun, and then save that. Now, I think if we go, let's just go to changes or some other table. All. So put this open. Let's have a look back through the chat in a moment. So now if I go to / command, I'm not going to do command /. I'm just going to do, that's why I like command / there, PGD. Now, David, see that caller name equals David. So we can go to that / command, PGD, and we don't want it to say equal. We want to say uppercase like or starts with. Is it? There we go. PGD David. There we go. So that can be really useful if you're constantly working with a list. and you're always filtering on stuff. For example, and if I had, if I did have IRM installed on here, which I haven't yet, or GRC as it's commonly referred to, that would be somewhere where I'm always in that application and always filtering things like control objectives by reference number. So I would have a / command built for that. I'm just going to set these off to install now and run in the background. Might as well do it. Let's catch up on your comments, Dan. Let's see what's going on. You're the only streamer, you're the only viewer live right now, so I do appreciate you joining in. If you want, I can send you a link and you can jump on. But let's have a look. StreamYard's pretty decent. Yeah, SN Devs use it exactly. Shout to SN Devs. Shout to Lauren, Chuck. The other day we did the MVP live stream, and I mean, there's a limit to the number of people. I think there were 16 people on the call or something. So glide record list to a background script. Let's have a look. Let's see. I don't know how to do it, Dan. We're going to see. We're going to see. So let's just, I'm just going to stop screen share. Invite. Okay, so I've got a copy here. Let me ping you in here. I've done this before, so it's completely completely test. Let's see, and I'll go back to comments. Alert doesn't show on share. Oh, what alert? Right, okay, I think I know what you mean. So when I went to present, share screen, let me just check what you mean on here. Right, yeah, because I'm not sharing the entire browser. Right, okay. Stop screen. Share. Yes, yeah, I've got it. Let me see. Share screen. Window. Just want to make sure. I need to make sure I don't have that screen. Just got to close some stuff down. I normally have a separate your browser has blocked your screen. Oh, it's even asking me to reload. Is that right? No. Let's have a look. Present, share screen, window. Okay, so on here, / commands. No, you don't see the pop-up there either. That is interesting. Dan, check your messages on LinkedIn. Yeah, the popover isn't sharing even when I share the entire window. Let's see if I do entire screen. It does make me a bit nervous. There we go. That's what we wanted. So we have to share the entire screen for it. Okay, good to know. Not going to do that though. Let's stop the screen share. Oh, we've got someone live. Someone else has just joined live. Welcome to Phil Goes Deep. I'm just doing some test broadcast, checking out the software from Streamyard. I've got banners running on the bottom. You can throw this up. There we go. like, share, and subscribe, and all that stuff. Discode. So just doing a little Discode tech. I have sent a link to Dan. You can have up to 6 people on the screen at once. Yeah, I don't know if it's worth paying for this sort of service. Messing around on OBS before. Hit the comments up if you want a shout out. As you see from Dan, I am a little bit rusty. I even forgot to share my screen. And I will bring my screen up. I'm just installing IRM on my PDI. I've got a fresh PDI. Let's jump into the studio. I think if I do this, it'll open in a new tab actually. And I've already got that tab open. So let me change. This one. Switch up to this one. Dan, you should have a message on LinkedIn. I don't know if that's working for you. You're there. I was like, where are you? Have you got message? You're live. You're live. Welcome.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
How you doing?
I am good, thank you. You've caught me in my living room. I've just got my iPhone at my disposal, my laptop somewhere else. So I thought I'd just join.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining. You get home safely then? You was on the train earlier, yeah.
I did, yeah. It was chucking it down when I left the house this morning. So I was walking along with my Service Now branded umbrella, which is quite a few years old now, and it's but it was okay on the way home. So nice and dry. Got back home, and then got the kids to bed and thought, oh, I wonder if Phil went through with his stream. And so I jumped on just to have a look.
I was just testing it out, and I realised, you said it earlier. You said I was rusty. I've got half of my stuff is not set up. I can just feel the lighting is poor. I don't know what the audio. I think the audio is actually coming through okay.
Yeah, it sounds good.
In fact, I haven't even plugged my MacBook in, so I am a little bit nervous. The power might cut out at any time. I'm just completely underprepared. I normally have a separate mic, but I think the audio is sounding okay. I actually bought one of those Streambox shortcut key things before. Sound effects and stuff like that.
You can jump around, do sound effects and stuff.
Yeah, I've got that going on, but none of it's plugged in, none of it's ready. So I'm just really testing it out. I think it's pretty cool. This Streamyard, have you used it before?
I've not used it, but I was watching a couple of the SN Devs broadcasts, and I was talking to, I was talking to Earl Decay, and I was just asking him what they use, and he was very open about telling me, what they use, what the setup is, and it looked pretty cool. And they were doing some really nice overlays that they'd spent some time sorting out, and the way they were bringing selected comments up on screen. I think you've done a couple of them as well, with like my rusty comment you put on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so basically StreamYard is sending directly to YouTube.
Yeah.
So I started scheduling a stream on YouTube, and then went into StreamYard to do it. And at one point there was two separate streams scheduled. So that was a learning. I think I can actually stream out to LinkedIn and stuff like that at the same time, but then it wanted to share my permissions, give permissions to LinkedIn, which I didn't want to do. So I might set up a LinkedIn page and stream through that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So yeah, it's all a bit of a learning, but this feels pretty good.
It's pretty slick, to be honest. Like, me joining as a guest was also a pretty slick experience, to be honest.
Had you just joined just before I dialed you in at that moment? Had you only just joined then, or were you waiting in a lobby for a while?
No, well, I didn't notice your message coming on LinkedIn because I give myself time limits on my apps.
Oh yeah, I've done
So
that.
I was on a LinkedIn time limit thing, so I didn't see it pop up. But when you said it on screen, I jumped into LinkedIn, got the link, clicked it, and it said, "Well, you can't open it here. Take it to Safari. Take the link to Safari. Go into because I'm on my iPhone. Take the link to Safari. Jump in. Give us a name. Do a mic and camera test, and off you go." But I'm literally holding the iPhone at this point, so this is probably the least professional joining of anything I've ever done. I mean, I've got the whole wobbly cam thing going on as well.
I think your lighting's better than mine, so that's good.
Give me a good shine anyway.
Somebody, I think it was Adam. I don't want to get the name wrong. Adam Chelly, I think, from Glidefast was on the live stream for the MVPs from a beer garden on his phone. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm quite happy. I've got this banner in the top right, which is for the free. Sorry, Dan.
Yes, right. I was just saying. I was on as you may know, I joined the Rising Star cohort this year.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. I was on one of the briefing calls for the Rising Star thing, and then the time just really annoyingly clashed with a dentist appointment. So I stuck the AirPods in, got in the car, drove down the road. I've got the Zoom happening on my phone. I'm driving down the road and I'm listening in. And then I arrive at the dentist, and just in the process of grabbing my phone out of the car holder, it's going to go sit in the waiting room listening, I managed to unmute myself, and apparently I was having a chat with the dentist receptionist, and I was just talking all the way over the top of the Rising Star meeting, and I'm like, sorry.
Oh no. At least you weren't live, on a live stream,
Well, they were recording it and hoping to put it out. I suspect I may have caused them some editing pain.
Oh, can you not mute the person? I would just mute.
Yeah, they did after a minute. And that's the only reason I knew, is because when I looked at my screen next, it said you have been muted by the host. I was like, oh.
Excellent work. Congrats on the Rising Star stuff, though, Dan. That's good stuff. Are you going on the new community much? Like the actual ServiceNow community side? Because I'll be honest, I haven't been on there much since they moved it to the new site. And that's not a reason why. I just remember that since then I haven't really been on there.
So the interesting thing I found with it is I haven't quite got my head around the navigation. I like the fact that there's mixed content on there. There's like more mixed content. There's definitely tons of really valuable stuff I've seen going on. There's stuff coming on from some of the ServiceNow employees. In fact, I've noticed way more ServiceNow employee engagement in the community. And obviously they've got a lot of material they can offer and a lot of experience. And I've seen a lot more employee involvement as well as partner involvement. But I have also noticed an increase in people giving out bad advice. So I think there's room for some moderation. But if I'm honest with you, it's not my normal place. My normal place for ServiceNow content is generally LinkedIn. I've built up, a bunch of followed hashtags and a whole ton of people I follow who I love seeing their content, and I like resharing it and commenting on it and stuff. So yeah. LinkedIn's my primary place, if I'm honest. That and a bunch of YouTube channels.
I think LinkedIn has become my go-to. It's so easy, it's so accessible on the phone. I think it's good what you said about having time limits set on apps. Like I said, I've done it on Insta. Purely because Insta is really a black hole for content, and I'm not really on, social media, but Insta is quite dangerous. 15-minute timers, and then it doesn't give you notifications either, does it, when it's gone off? So I think that's really, really good way of taking care of distractions. In terms of LinkedIn, I'm on there quite a lot in terms of on the phone, in between breaks, making a cup of tea, stuff like that. But the content side of things can be a little bit ephemeral. So the content's there and then it's gone again. I think articles can be good. I've saved stuff in the past to LinkedIn and then not been able to go and find it again. I don't know how to find the stuff I've saved. So that, I think the community stuff is really good for articles. I know Mark Ruthoff is often sending, posting articles and reposting his content. So
he just joined another partner. He announced today he signed up with Sophie, I think, ServiceNow partner. He was wearing his bright green jumper. Very.
I didn't read the post. He's shaking hands with somebody. Well, congratulations to Mark. That's really positive news. Jace is on the live stream. Jace is in the comments.
I saw someone just join. Hey, Jace.
Yes, Jace. So how you doing, Jace? Thanks for joining. Haven't spoken for a while, actually. We exchanged some messages the other day. I need to check, Daniel. I've been calling you Dan. I feel like I've always called you Dan. Is it you prefer Daniel?
You have always called me Dan, and for you, it's okay. No, it's fine. I take anything. It doesn't really matter. I introduced myself as Daniel, but Daniel. I tend not to go for Danny for some reason. It's always not stuck well with me. But Daniel, Dan AC, DAC.
You prefer Daniel? I'll go with Daniel. So sorry for that. It's become a habit now, I think. Shout out to Jace. He's saying that the LinkedIn content is hard to find, and Jace is absolutely prolific for his content aggregation stuff. So the news site, I haven't actually seen news posts from Jace for a while. So I don't know if you're
news.jace.pro. Shout out.
Yeah, you used to do the rundown as well, like ServiceNow content. I'm not sure what happened to that. So
I'm guessing that was quite time consuming, whereas the news feed was something was set up once and used many. But
it's been in build mode. Let me see if I don't know if we might be able to bring Jace in. I'm not sure if he's up for it. He might be busy, but let me see if I can send you a link, Jace, if you want to jump on. Good to say hello. We're not going to go for too long today anyway. Just really testing the setup out. Did you have a look at Discode before, Daniel? Have you seen?
Oh God! Now you're calling me Daniel. That's really weird. You've always called me Dan.
I don't know what Jace has been building, but Discode literally came back to life the other day for me.
How come?
What was I doing? I can't remember what it was, but I just went and thought, you know what? I'll check it. I just pulled down a fresh PDI and then just hit up on the on Git and connected it, and it was there.
Yeah.
And I started going through the code, and I know that some of the way it's built is questionable. However, am I getting an echo back? Is it on the phone or is it? Might be. Can you hear an echo on me or not? No. Okay. So yeah, the way it's written and so on is, I would say, fairly consistent, that I was able to just look at it and feel really familiar. Jace is here. Hold on. Feel really familiar with what we've written. Jace.
It would be familiar. It would be familiar if it's your coding style, even if your coding style.
Not necessarily. Not as it's been 2 years. It's 2 years old. So sometimes you look back at stuff and think, who wrote this? Let's bring Jace in.
Yeah, do it.
Jace Benson, how you doing? Are we getting audio from Jace?
We're definitely getting video.
Switch this around. Which way around do we want it? Here we go. Are we getting audio from Jace?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly. How you doing, Jace?
Pretty great. Been busy building stuff, having fun.
I mean, I've got questions.
You always have questions that are just horrible and great.
I think these are easy questions.
They're all easy, and then I think about them like, oh man, it feels right.
The questions are easy. The answers might be more difficult. Have you two met, Jace? Have you met Daniel?
Just now, I think, maybe.
About 10-20 seconds ago. Yeah.
Excellent.
Hey, Jace. I followed a bunch of your content for quite a while, and I think we've interacted on LinkedIn and stuff a few times. And nice to actually meet you in the flesh.
Same. I think it's great.
Excellent. There we go. I love the ServiceNow community for the its ability to bring people together. So, Jace, it's been a while since I know we exchanged a message briefly, recently on LinkedIn, but I was speaking to you fairly regularly on Discord, and I've not logged onto Discord for many months now.
That's okay.
And then out of nowhere, I see a post from you talking about self-hosted AI, this Scribe. I think, in fact, when ChatGPT first came out, you were one of the people who I was first discussing it with. What is ChatGPT? How it's built its large language model, tokenization, and then you started building Scribe. What's happened since then? It's been about a year, I would say, maybe longer, maybe 16 months on since ChatGPT first came out.
Yeah, it's been nuts. I mean, I'm sure you guys follow the news and have seen all of these things changing. There's just so much stuff to keep up with. It's insane. From when the first model was released to like how fast they're iterating. Like just today, Star Chat 2 model was released by BigCode. And if you don't know, BigCode is a collaboration between ServiceNow and Hugging Face. Right. So, and like they announced Star Coder 2 like 3 days ago or something. Like everybody's pushing these new models out and these new things that you can use in different ways. And they're not, I mean, it's complicated, right? Building the models and stuff, but consuming them is not. And it doesn't have to be behind difficult, like hidden abstractions. You can host it yourself as long as you have the hardware. And if you're hosting it, like you're not sending your data elsewhere. As long as you're following the license, using the appropriate models with the appropriate licenses, like Apache 2 or MIT or whatever.
So Scribe is your current project, and you said in the chat, you said just a few moments ago, you've been in build mode. Jace, what have you been building? Is it Scribe? Is it this self-hosted AI integration with ServiceNow? How can you talk about that?
I've been building a couple different things, which I shouldn't do. I should work on one thing at a time. Because I only have so much availability in my, you know what I mean? You only can do so much, right? But yeah, the last probably 2 months I've been messing with this idea of a self-hosted generative AI, just like text summarization and maybe like suggested field values, right? Based on data that's in your database, but you host a vector database, you host a large language model server, you host an API endpoint, and you host a mid server that like makes it all work together.
Okay, so any organization that's got ServiceNow, or even a developer like could have a PDI with your Scribe service running.
Right. I mean, it's separate from the instance, right? The only thing that makes it part of the instance is the mid server connects to it, and then you call the mid server from your instance.
So there's no dependency on the Gen AI controller, that part of ServiceNow. No.
No dependency on that stuff. There's a dependency on making sure you have the hardware that can run it, right? Like I think you'll need at least 16 gigabytes to make it anywhere near workable. You might be okay with 8 if you use a smaller model like Tiny Dolphin or Tiny Llama.
Okay.
But if you want to use like a larger model like Mistral or Mixtral or whatever other ones, they require more RAM or more video RAM if you have access to like video RAM on those servers, which I don't expect customers to have.
Like a GPU, basically.
Exactly.
I've been running behind on this stuff, trying to catch up, because I'm like I've had an interest since it launched. Like a lot of people, everyone's like,
yeah,
it's fascinating, right? What we're managing to achieve in such a relatively short space of time. It feels like the excitement of the .com boom, the advent of the internet, and social media invention all in one. Because it's just like the possibilities are humongous.
Never in our lifetime have I seen something like this except for the internet. And when the internet came out, I was a baby. I wasn't alive, right? Like literally, you can't have more experience in this than 2017 and newer. And if you were working on in 2017 and newer or old 2017, like you're running your own thing somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they've just AI's just solved a nuclear fusion problem.
Oh, did it?
They've trained an AI to spot when the biggest problem with nuclear fusion, obviously this endless power supply effectively is what we're looking for. The biggest problem with nuclear fusion is that it's unstable, and basically the field collapses, and you have to move electromagnets to stabilize the field. And no one's been able to do that quick enough, but they've trained an AI to recognize the conditions, when I don't know the detail, and I'm not clever enough, but basically they've trained the AI to recognize when the electromagnetic field is about to collapse, and to reposition a bunch of magnets in time before the field collapses. So effectively, in a very, very small scale, they've managed to create nuclear fusion stabilized by AI. Obviously, the dependency there is you've got to have AI constantly monitoring a nuclear fusion field and moving electromagnets around. So how much power is that going to take? How feasible is it? And how dangerous is it if it collapses if you do it on a big scale? But like the theoretical possibilities are enormous here. Like just doing stuff that humans could never do that fast.
It's crazy. Like I read something. I was trying to find the source of one of these, not a ServiceNow person, customer, company, or anything. It's like unrelated AI stuff. They were talking about how like these large language models, they can be really great, but you'll get more value if you can grammatically solve stuff. They were building an app to build websites from a picture. Like you draw diagrams, wireframe, and it builds a website out of it, right? Like that was its focus. Or was it you give it a website and identifies the boxes and it replaces your copy or whatever with their stuff? But that can be kind of difficult to do, but you can train like an image model specifically to do that. And it becomes a lot smaller and it'll become a lot more accurate than like a much larger model that can interpret like that kind of stuff. So having like a lot of small things makes a difference. But it is nuts. I know that there's doctors using it to identify like some cancer cell formations, right? And that originated from, in the story I read, a company that spent a bunch of money so they could automatically calculate how many croissants and donuts and bagels they were buying, because identifying those oddly shaped objects is extremely complicated for some reason, right? Because at different angles, they look differently. But it's just nuts. So yeah, Phil, bring it all around circle. I've been building, and I think that we don't need to necessarily have to buy 5 licenses, 5 SKUs to access ServiceNow's generative AI. I think we just host your own, at least for like summarization.
So I've got some questions on this topic, actually, Jace, given you've got some experience in it. And I know Mark Scott as well. Shout out to Mark Scott.
Oh, man.
He's doing lots of stuff on AI as well.
Long live Icarus. Long live Icarus.
It's gone now.
James Foot has actually got a question here to say, interesting that you need good hardware just to run a large language model. And the thinking there was really, it was just about training it. And I remember, Jace, way back, like I say, when ChatGPT was kind of first coming out, I think it might have even been before ChatGPT launched, and you were playing around with Stable Diffusion. And you were training some Stable Diffusion stuff locally on your device.
Well, I wasn't training anything.
Well, you had the local model, or you downloaded the model?
The beginning? So when back in like November of 2022, I think it was.
Yeah.
Right. It was right before all this stuff kind of hit the fan. I was trying to figure out what I can do to like learn this, because everything was saying like, well, if you want to do this AI stuff, you have to understand fine tuning. I'm like, what is fine tuning? And this was not Stable Diffusion stuff. This was OpenAI's stuff. So you have a model, right, that's been trained on a corpus of data. And that costs a ton of money, a ton of time, right?
Yeah.
Like even those small models I was naming before, it's like 90 hours on an A100, which if you want to pay for that time on a machine in the cloud somewhere, it's like $6,000 for that amount of time for that hardware. I don't know what the card costs if you want to run it at home, but like it's expensive.
You're saying it costs money because there's a lot of compute power required to
train a model.
Yeah, to train a model.
To make a model from nothing.
Yeah.
But once you have a model, you can give it more data and fine tune it to that new data. And I did that. So I was like, what data is like amply available that I can train this on? I thought, you know what? The weather data from the Minneapolis airport. I live in Minnesota, so Minneapolis is near me. The Minneapolis airport has 40 years of data. You can just download all of the aggregate, like daily humidity, temperature, snowfall, waterfall, that kind of stuff, right? So I thought, well, if I do that, I can put in a date in the future and I can have it guess what the weather will be like. That'd be kind of neat.
That's what
and
they
the
do
data
anyway.
is so
The weather forecast.
What's that?
That's how weather forecasts work anyway, isn't it? It's a guess.
I thought I learned some things with weather forecasting in doing this. Right, I spent like $10, and because the data is so small, it didn't cost a lot, but it was a lot more relative to what it costs to get inferences or like it to like spit out text to do that fine tuning, and it takes time, right, to do that fine tuning. But the model then would only respond in a certain way when I gave it the prompt the way I did in the fine tuning. So the fine tuning was I gave it like a date, year, month, day, colon. And then it would give me the output weather, right? In like a 5-number format. And that was super interesting. It wasn't right, but it trended appropriately, right? So like in June in Minnesota, it's really hot. And it would be really hot. And in December, it's cold. And in March, it's cold, right? So like just things change. Well, March is now warm. But whatever, times change. But it's just very interesting. So
Sounds like you might be on a one-man mission to prove or disprove climate change.
Well, I mean, it's statistically going to give you the next most likely result. So it's doing stuff there. And then I thought, I wonder what other data's out there.
Really, in that sense, yeah.
What's that?
It's looking at patterns in that way.
Yeah, it's looking at patterns. That was just fine-tuning. So fine-tuning is more like just telling a large language model, hey, here's this muscle memory. I'm not going to tell you like what the answer is, but if you pick up a weight, you want to pick it up and just lift it, right? Like that's just like a muscle memory. It's like just habitual, right? Not necessarily right, but if you put something in your hand, it's like the shape of a dumbbell. You want to lift it in this way, right? Maybe it's a dumbbell, maybe it's a TV remote, maybe it's whatever. But if you give it in that format, it'll respond in kind, right? So then I was like, well, what other data is there? And I found that there is some lottery data from New York State. Right. I was like, oh, I wonder if I can see how the power, have it do some Powerball guessing for me. It didn't. I checked for like a week. It didn't give me any numbers. Had it, I would have been buying lottery tickets.
But that explains what you've been doing all the time. You've been lying on a beach in Hawaii or something.
Oh man, I wish. No, but my point was that's all fine tuning. That was on the cloud, not my hardware. To get back to James's question, like you still need hardware. The reason you need hardware with memory is you need to load up all the weights. When you do that that training and fine tuning, my understanding is it applies these numbers to all of these different things, their weights, right? So when you have like for instance, I'm gonna pick on Tiny Dolphin because I know the number off the top of my head. Tiny Dolphin has 1.1 billion parameters. So it has 1.1 billion weights, right? And that's a tiny model. Now, this isn't an exact math, and there's different quantizations. I might be saying that word wrong, but different ways to store the weights. The smallest weighting that most of these models use is a Q4. So they store 4 bits per weight. So you can effectively take like a model's parameters and times it by 4. And in gigabytes, that's about how much space you'll need to run it with memory. computer RAM is about 8 times slower than video RAM.
Mm.
So you need the space available in like a RAM allotment and then that's why you need that much. At least that's what I found when I did this looking into it.
Hence, there's a worldwide shortage of graphics cards, and everybody's investing in, investing in graphics card companies and Nvidia and all sorts.
It's just since Bitcoin plummeted as well. I think everyone stopped mining Bitcoin and started training large language models, I guess. But
we're all stuck to the flame like a moth.
They're just saying
one of those advances humanity somewhat, and one of them doesn't. Let's be honest.
So ML is machine learning, and large language models. Are they the same thing?
I mean, they're in the same scope of stuff. I'm definitely not an expert, just so it's clear. I might be dabbling with the stuff. I do not feel like an expert. I'm learning every day like everybody else.
How easy would it be to train or to build your own large language model?
So Hugging Face has some tutorials that you can follow to build your own model from scratch. And you can do it with a Jupyter notebook, or you can do it on your own computer. I mean, it just depends on what you have to have the data to train against. And there's a couple places you can get these sets of data to train against. And this is where people get in trouble, is they train against data they shouldn't be training against.
Like ChatGPT.
Well, like anything. If you download a copy of Harry Potter and you train a model against it, you definitely were not authorized to do that.
No,
right?
It's just reproducing effectively. You're reproducing the text.
Well, I mean, there's ethical and there's legal ramifications of it, right? And we're seeing that stuff out, which is why you have to be absolutely crystal clear that we're using appropriate models and data sets that are okay to use. Like the Enron data set from back in the day is available for anybody to use for any reason, because it was released under the public license because they were looking for help to identify instances of fraud, and which is why the Enron data set was kind of what's way back when that from what I read, it is what started this whole suggestion of responses in Gmail and Hotmail and stuff, because it was a good peer data set of actual email dialogues. Because generating that kind of content is difficult. I'm actually looking for a data set like that for incident data, right? Because wouldn't that be sweet?
Yes.
But it doesn't exist.
Well, it exists, but it's not available.
It doesn't exist in an available way.
Yeah.
Right. So then the only way to do it is make synthetic data like it.
But then it's synthesized and therefore limited in its actual value. But this is where ServiceNow's proposition for AI, I think, is really strong. The domain specific and the company centric sort of data sets that must be.
But they're not making a model per customer.
No,
I don't. True. They're shared models per function. So if you use generative AI on incident, I use generative AI on incident, we're using the same underlying model and infrastructure, to my understanding. And that's fantastic. And it's expensive. We just talked about how expensive it is to make your own model. But I would also argue that the data that they trained it on, that seems like an overstep, in my opinion, initially, right? I mean, I'm sure it's in their legalese that they can use the data from their customers to build these things. And you can opt out, which is the wrong way to go about it. I know you and I have talked about this before. It should be an opt-in process. But,
well, that's specifically, I think when we talked about that, we were talking specifically about consent and, privacy. And it should be opt-in for those things for sure. I guess when it comes to other services, it's going to be down to the specifics of each contract, right? So depending what you're using Spotify, for example, I'm sure somewhere in the terms and conditions it will that it's going to use my listening preferences to make recommendations for other people, and that's part of the conditions of service. So I'm guessing there's going to be situations like that, that extend into the enterprise systems as well. Certainly from a personal data perspective, nobody should be collecting and processing my personal data without my knowing, and
Agreed.
where appropriate, where with consent. But consent is only one of the legal bases for which collection and processing of personal data actually exists. Like, there can be legal contractual reasons for doing so.
I get that. I think we should hold these companies to the same standard we're holding individuals to.
Yeah, I agree. If we're all subject to these kind of privacy constraints ourselves, we should hold corporate entities and such to the same, and they should treat our data with respect. The thing that I'm not so sure about, just circling back to what you said a second ago, is the features I've seen released so far by ServiceNow under the Now Assist banner and such. I'd had a look at the model. They're doing like model cards. I think are they called model cards or model rate cards? But I think they're model cards, and it explicitly lists the engine that it's using, or the model that it was, the data sets it was trained on. Hugging Face, I think Starcode is in there for the coding one. There's nothing in there to me that suggests, and nothing I've heard from anyone that suggests it's actually been trained on any data from customer instances or from ServiceNow instances.
Code is a separate entity than ServiceNow, and those models, they may be used in addition to, I'm guessing, maybe, but the models are using on the instances, I don't know that they're using any of the big code models.
Right. Okay.
They haven't released their private models. Like, if you were to look at your HTTP requests on the Now Assist stuff, it says like a different model, like when it's making the request. You can see like what they're calling the model under the code.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I looked at it because I was like curious, like what are they actually doing? Because I want to know. And it's nothing that's out in the public, and rightfully so, right? They spent money in tech.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Rightfully their IP. I totally agree. But it's but the data that they've used for StarCoder and those other ones, I mean, it's an opt-out process. So if you have GitHub repositories, you're likely in the StarCoder repository, the StarCoder data sets.
Oh, I see. You're talking about what the original StarCoder models were trained on, not what ServiceNow has specifically done with them.
Right. So ServiceNow, as its own entity, is doing other stuff, and they bought a couple AI companies.
Gotcha.
And they're collaborating with Hugging Face, and they built an entity called Big Code, right? And Big Code has released a bunch of data sets and a bunch of models under the Open Rail Plus license, which has some use conditions to it, which is fairly open, to be honest. Like, you can use it for commercial purposes and stuff, but you just have to be aware, like, if anybody's going to use it, they have to agree to these terms. Like, you're not going to use it to, like, I forget them, but it's like war, like stuff. Like, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't want to misrepresent what they are, but I would definitely look up the Open Rail Plus license that they have attached if you're curious.
Yeah, interesting. I will do. Thanks.
I've taken down a lot of notes here, actually, and for what was supposed to be just a live stream test session, I've learned a load. And as is always the case when we talk to each other,
likewise.
And Daniel, thank you both for joining today. I think just looking at the time, it's going to be reaching a nice round hour, which is something I've always failed at in the past when I've done live streams. Is, you know, they'll go on for 2 or 3 hours or something.
You gotta cut it down. It sounds good to me, man.
It's a Tuesday evening here. It's approaching 10 p.m. I just want to thank you both. I think we need to follow this up. We need to have all my notes are falling off. We need to follow this up. James is getting involved in the chat as well. But you know, what is a large language model? How do we build one? How can we use one? All of them exciting questions. I think we need to come back to.
Well, today I'm sending out the instructions to a beta listed group of about 10 folks to have them try this thing out that I built. So I guess you'll see how this is amazing or how it flails and flounders. We'll see. Right?
Well, it'll be awesome. I'm sure.
And I'm excited to check it out, to push it and see whatever. But it's cool, right? Because when you own the whole thing in the end, you make the choices. Good or bad.
Yeah. Very true. Hopefully it doesn't fly too close to the sun.
Yeah, I hope not. It may, we'll see.
Well, thank you both. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. Thanks to James as well. We'll wrap it up here. I have no idea how to close out a live stream on Streamyard.
See you next time.
Yeah, I'll see you another time. Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. Take
Cheers,
care.
Chase. Nice to meet you.
Nice
Cheers,
to meet you. Nice to meet you, Dan.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Well, that's it. That's it from Phil Goes Deep, the return. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the hashtag. And you will see that coming up on the stream right now. I've got to figure out how to close this thing down. And I believe I would say this has been a very successful session. Thank you to Daniel. Thank you to Jace. Thanks to James. Thanks to anyone else who's tuned in. I will be back. Really appreciate all the comments and the engagement. So we can see there's lots of conversation, lots of L's, lots of M's. And that's it from me. Thank you.